Hello, my name is Stephen Beam. I'm a consumer bankruptcy attorney certified by the American Board of Certification. Now, what is bankruptcy? Particularly, what is Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Well, Chapter 7 bankruptcy is called liquidation bankruptcy, and it is in fact the most common type of bankruptcy that people in the United States file. Liquidation means that non-exempt assets are liquidated or sold in exchange for a complete discharge of most debts. Most cases involve households or people whose monthly living expenses exceed their monthly income. Now, whether one qualifies for bankruptcy or not depends on whether one satisfies the means test. Now, one satisfies the means test if one's household living expenses and household income are less than the state average income for a household of similar size. For instance, if you have a household whose income is $60,000 and the state average income for a household of that size is $65,000, then that person files for bankruptcy relief and qualifies for Chapter 7 bankruptcy relief. Now, in the vast majority of bankruptcy cases, people do not lose any property because there are bankruptcy exemptions propounded under either the Federal Bankruptcy Code or under Minnesota state law. These exemptions are very generous, and in 95% of the cases, the exemptions are sufficient to protect all of the person's property from liquidation. Now, how does one determine if one needs to file for bankruptcy? Well, there's no set specific amount of debt be present in order for one to file. Typically, the test is, can one materially reduce one's creditors as they come due every month? Does one have sufficient income to pay their necessary living expenses and then materially reduce their other creditors every month? Not just maintain, not just tread water, but materially reduce their debts. What is the process of Chapter 7 bankruptcy and how long does it take? Well, Chapter 7 bankruptcy usually takes 90 to 120 days. And the process is, the first very step is you schedule a free consultation with a lawyer and you gather certain necessary documentation that lawyer will need to review, and ultimately, if you elect to file for bankruptcy, that lawyer will need to adequately prepare your bankruptcy paperwork. Now, the bankruptcy petition is a petition. It is a pleading that you sign under penalty of perjury, under oath. It's not just a bunch of forms that get thrown together. And you have to be exacting and you have to be very specific about gathering the documentation that your lawyer asks for. Now, some people are concerned about how long a bankruptcy stays on your credit, and they're concerned about how long or how soon after a bankruptcy is filed will you be able to get credit to buy a house or buy a car. Now, it varies in most cases, but in bankruptcy generally will remain on your credit profile for 5 to 6 years, even up to 10 years in some cases. However, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be credit worthy. Now, what I like to call the Pinocchio effect is a common theme in bankruptcy cases. And people who conclude a bankruptcy are often very credit worthy. They are very attractive credit risks for new creditors. And the Pinocchio effect is essentially a new creditor sees that instead of being 10th in line now they're first in line after all these pre-existing creditors have been discharged by the bankruptcy filing. So you got no debt strings. And new creditors see that. And new creditors also see that it'll take 8 years before you qualify for another bankruptcy case, in Chapter 7 generally speaking, and that they have 8 years to fully garnish your wages or levy on your bank accounts until you're able to qualify for bankruptcy relief, and there's not a thing that you can do about it. So when you get done with the bankruptcy, you will be a very attractive credit risk. If you're wondering whether Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 fits your life circumstances, you're not alone. Please contact me for a free consultation. I will help you discern through that process to determine if Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy would be best for your circumstances.